Historical Society annual meeting. At this time, I'd like you to bow your heads so that I can read the names of the deceased members that have passed away since the last year. Orville Kubiak, Madeline Krofcheck, Sir Shirley Solja, John Mahalko, Tony Haramichek, Louise Konopka, Alice Kawakuski, Valentina Rogers, Marjorie Bluma, Sue Victor, Valentina Rogers, Marjorie Bluma, Sue Winter, Edna Palbitsky, George Sanders, Eleanor Kozlowski, and Dr. Greg Jerlinga. Thank you. Now I will introduce the officers. I'm the president, Larry Kuzin. The vice president is Tammy Brichkuski. Our secretary is Maria Doe. Treasurer is Noreen Heiser. The board members are Don Manigal, known as Rock, Chris Yavorsky, Ron Marashek, Mike Brzezinski, Ed Kraus, Pam Manigal, Roger Brichkuski, and Steve Peplinski. Our curator is Steve Karch. I have two certificates of appreciation, one for Roger Brichkuski and for the family of Dr. Greg Jerlinga. They served on our board, and we usually give our board members a certificate of appreciation. Now our report, membership report by Noreen.
Okay, we currently have 318 members. Overall, it's 8 less than last year. With everything going on, I think that's a nice number. We've added quite a few new members, and I'd like to acknowledge them. Tom and Todd Blaschik, Rosa and Eugene Nelson, and Denise Plonka, Jolene and Rolf White, Tim Prokash, Kristen and Joe Kalkuski, Frank and Marlene Berna, Lester Rapke, Corey and Carol Watoon, Nancy Michael, Audrey and Bill Peters, Arlene Roloff, and Jenna Saha. And we've also added Kayla Photography as one of our new businesses.
Take your treasurer's report.
And then as far as our treasurer's report, we have quite a few expenses. As you can see, we have $24,512.84 in total expenses. Our total income was $35,376.38. Now that number does include Baytech's unbelievable donation of $10,000 to help with our museum renovation. So that was just remarkable. So far, our museum improvement expenses for the fiscal year were $16,017.23. The operating expenses, $8,495.61. So our balance in the checkbook is $36,184.52. We are doing some major undertakings, which will use up just about all of that, but it'll be worth it. We're doing the complete museum renovation of the inside. We're redoing the outer walls with steel and hoping to grow our membership. We also were able to start an endowment fund, which another remarkable thing we have going. So far, to open it, we had donations of $13,250. So that will be, that's our endowment fund.
Are there any questions? I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Motion by Rock, seconded by
I seconded Ron Marashek.
Ron Marashek. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Usually we have a secretary's report, but I'm gonna need a motion. We're gonna dispense with reading the secretary's report, and we'll accept it as presented. So I need a motion to accept the secretary's report.
I will so move. Steve Peplinski.
seconded by Damian Szymanski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At this time, I would like to inform the members that 3 board members' terms are up. Steve Poplinski, Pam Manigal, and Roger Brichkuski. Steve and Pam have chosen to remain as candidates for the board. Roger has declined. Roger is not feeling very well. He's in a nursing home and we wish him well. We also have a volunteer by the name of Tim Prokash. Is Tim here?
No, he couldn't make it.
Okay. I need a motion to nominate Pam Manigal, Steve Poplinski, and Tim Prokash as candidates.
So moved, Rock.
Motion by Rock, seconded by Noreen. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I now open the floor for any other nominations. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? I need a motion to close the nominations.
Mike Marashik, I move to close nomination.
A second,
Ron Marashik.
Ron Marashik.
I would also like to make a move that we cast a unanimous ballot for the 3 members that we have there for our board.
You must be
Cast
reading
a
my
unanimous
notes.
ballot.
You're reading my notes. That's okay. That's fine. I have a motion to close the nominations by Mike Marashik. I also have a motion to unanimously elect Pam, Steve Poplinski, and Tim Prokash to our board. Congratulations. Now we'll have a video of the shrine. It's yours.
So while I get the video ready, maybe I could have Steve come up and just talk a little bit about the shrine. It'll be up in a second, but Steve and I are partners in crime. So we want to do these videos and but he'll talk a little bit about it just real quickly and then we'll watch. It is a 15-minute presentation, so prepare yourself. And have your cheese curds and your coffee or your wine or whatever. But it'll be a nice presentation. So here's Steve.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. As Tammy was saying, we created a video on Pulaski's historic shrines. There have been 4 shrines in the area within the village of Pulaski or just outside with the founding of the settlement itself. So we're going to cover the 4 oldest shrines. 3 of them are still standing yet. Well, 2 of them are still standing. One of them is really actually kind of newer. I'm dating myself by saying 1987 is being new, but.
So tell them about the cow real quick.
Oh,
Because there's a
yes.
cow in the video and
There
you'll
is a
know why.
cow in the video. So we went to visit one of the other shrines that is on the outskirts of town. It's a really nice rural wooden shrine out off of Green Valley Road, and I refer to it as the Ulmer Shrine.
Yeah.
But on our way back, one of the cows got loose and was in the middle of the road, so we just had to stop and take a video of the cow there.
How's the hamburger?
Oh, we thought about that too. What a blessing that would have been. Somebody was listening.
What's really unique, well, we'll tell the story here, but Damon, I mean, you know a lot about the shrines or one of the shrines. If you want to say something after, we certainly are open to that. And I'm going to start playing it now.
Okay.
There is no one alive today in the town of Pulaski who recalls wandering the colorful fairways of the Pulaski Fair, with its carefully kept horse racing track, or the local baseball teams from Laney and Hanston who would come to play the boys from town. My generation cannot recall the days when passenger trains would stop in Pulaski, the sights and sounds of people and cargo coming and going, certain signs of a vibrant, industrious community. The last generation, those born after 2000, will never visit the town's movie theater, its noisy bowling alley, the cue ball, or the A&W. They will not experience the town's rodeos, the ping pong drop, or sitting on the floor of the gym at Glenbrook to watch festive movies on Halloween night after trick-or-treating. We all only carry one lifetime's worth of memories. I have mine, my parents have theirs, on down through the bloodline since planting our roots here in Pulaski in the late 1880s. But today's topic is not about me or them or even you. Rather, I'm going to talk about the stones that make up our roadside shrines, those landmarks that rest on the edge of the village, greeting strangers and welcoming those familiar who have come back home to us. When I talk of the shrines of Pulaski, I'm referring to the two oldest shrines, the first being located on Highway 32 north of town, and the second on the lawn of Eric and Charlotte Scala, about a mile south of the town on St. Augustine Street. There was a third shrine located in the center of town on the site of ABVM, but it was removed in the early 1920s when the larger church was constructed. The fourth and last village shrine was started in late 1986 to commemorate the centennial year of the parish's founding in 1987 and is located on the corner of Crest Drive and St. Augustine Streets, again south of the village center. I should mention that there are other shrines dotting the countryside around Pulaski and encourage you to seek them out, as they can be appreciated as forms of artistic expression, alongside that of spiritual devotion and historical relevance. The building of personal and communal shrines has a long tradition with the Catholics of Poland, going all the way back to the Counter-Reformation in the 1530s. They are called kapliczka, or little chapels, and were first erected by the land-owning nobles of Poland as an outward expression of their faith on a local level. They also serve a very practical purpose in the church. Since the year 1450, the Catholic Church has, for the most part, celebrated the Jubilee year every 25 years. A Jubilee year is an entire year when one could seek a universal pardon or remission for their sins, first through the sacrament of confession, followed by making a pilgrimage to St. Peter's or St. Paul's in Rome that year. For those Catholics living far from Rome, even oceans away, the following year after the Jubilee year was the Jubilee year outside of Rome. And so 1901 became a special year for Catholics in Pulaski. And rather than make pilgrimage to Rome, they were encouraged to visit their local churches and shrines on appointed holy days. In the 19th century, the Polish serfs were granted their freedom and with the ability to own their own land and have property. The mixing of deeply rooted faith and new wealth saw the construction of more shrines in the royals of Poland, often where there weren't churches or priests to lead prayers. Even today, Catholics in Poland meet in front of the little chapels to pray alone or in small groups, often singing Majówki, the Maytime hymns. In springtime, in the rural areas, the Catholics meet for Denik Shiva, cross days, where the local priests lead their congregations on processions between shrines, singing devotional hymns, offering prayers of thanksgiving, and asking for bountiful harvest and the blessing of the farmland. In communist Poland, it was a crime to erect a shrine, but most local communist leaders turned a blind eye to the practice, which allowed it to endure. So, in this spirit, in 1900 and 1901, efforts were put in place to build 3 Marian shrines in the vicinity of Pulaski. Marion, denoting Mary, the mother of Jesus, who still to this day plays a central role in the Catholic Church in Poland. 5 men played key roles in the construction of the first 3 shrines, besides their efforts in securing the needed funding and supplies. The first was William Richkowski, who donated land and labor for the North Shrine on Highway 32. Welcome to the first Marian Shrine of Pulaski, Wisconsin. This shrine was built in 1901 to commemorate the Jubilee year outside of Rome in 1900. The first was William Richkowski, who donated land and labor for the North Shrine on Highway 32. Nicholas Borowski, the mason, laid the stones and later built the second shrine on his homestead, just south of town on St. Augustine Street. John Charnock, the village's tinsmith, provided the decorative metalwork for the shrines. An ex-Franciscan brother, Frank Orkanowski, who lived and worked on the farm of Mr. Wichkowski, provided the much-needed labor and motivation for the build. And lastly, Father Francis Manel gave spiritual guidance and helped to secure the beautiful statues found within the shrines. The most widely viewed shrine is likely the North Shrine, located across from the John Deere implement of Highway 32. It is also the oldest, being the first, built on a tract of land gifted to the diocese by William Wichkowski. Contained in the North Shrine are the statues of Mary, St. Francis of Assisi, and St. Anthony of Padua. Holding the baby Jesus, St. Anthony was a follower of St. Francis and is the patron saint of lost articles and stolen things. While being the oldest shrine, the North Shrine is the least original, seeing restoration work performed in 1957 and again in the late 1980s. Julius and Betty Wichkowski, Ed Ladowski, Dave Shue, Edwin Rosmerick, Bernice and Arthur Smirala, Elaine Nick, Edna Brishkowski, Vince Nowitzki, alongside Johnny's Welding and Piat Trucking, collectively put in over 100 hours in the restoration. A fund was set up in 1985 for the shrine's restoration. The last restoration occurred after a vehicle left the road and collided with the shrine, decimating the structure. And yet the locals once again came together to restore their beloved shrine to the landscape. The second shrine was erected in 1901 on the front lawn of the Borowski home located at N1951 St. Augustine Street. Nicholas Borowski was born in Posen, Poland in 1850 and married his wife, Elizabeth, in 1873. They started a family in the old country before moving to America in 1884, settling in the city of Detroit, where Mr. Borowski learned the craft of being a mason, while Miss Borowski opened their home to new Polish immigrants fresh off the trains and completely new to Detroit. The Borowskis came to Pulaski around 1890, where Nicholas had his farm, but still plied his trade as a mason, building brick homes, the shrines, and even the early church. Nicholas placed his shrine behind a line of short, carefully manicured hedges, protected by a short fence, proudly facing the east to be greeted by the sunrise and any travelers coming or going into Pulaski. Within the shrine, he placed the statues of Mary and Jesus, and for many years, the family lovingly took care of the shrine. Elizabeth died in 1921, and Nicholas later in 1938 at the venerable age of 88. Nicholas's son, Joseph, who was born in Detroit, went on to serve on the board of the Pulaski State Bank and opened the Borowski Granary in Pulaski. The South Shrine has had several caretakers in the last century besides the Borowski family, including the families of Damon Szymanski, Michael Rasmussen, and the current caretakers, Eric and Charlotte Scala. At one point, the shrine was leaning badly, and Damon Szymanski, Mike Lahoviak, Dave Shue, and Roger Van Lannen stepped in to pour a new concrete foundation beneath the shrine. Of the three existing shrines, the Borowski shrine is the most original, but due to weather and time, they seem the most wear and could use some restoration work to bring it back to its former beauty. It is my hope in the next year to work with the current caretaker, the Scalas, and our organization to do a proper assessment and renovation on the Borowski shrine. Welcome to the last Marion Shrine in Pulaski, Wisconsin. The shrine is dedicated to Our Lady of Chesahola and was built in 1987 to commemorate the 100-year founding of ABVM Parish. The third and final shrine, to be built in 1901, was erected on the church grounds and stood in front of the second church, a low brick building which housed a basement chapel. As the construction of St. Mary's expanded in 1923, the shrine was dismantled and its statuary dispersed, likely to the monastery or church proper. There are several photos from that period showing the third shrine. The fourth and final shrine is rather modern, erected in 1986-87 to commemorate the founding of the ABVM Parish in 1887. Rather than honor a Jubilee year, the fourth shrine is dedicated to Our Lady of Chesahola, Mary, patroness and protector of the Polish people. Czestochowa is a small town in Poland where the fortified monastery of Jasna Gora, Bright Hill, houses an important early Christian relic, an icon of Mary holding the baby Jesus. Tradition holds that the icon was created by St. Luke on a slat of wood from the table of the Last Supper. The icon of Czestochowa was given to St. Helen and then taken to the Emperor Constantine. In 989, it was gifted to Princess Anna on her wedding day and taken to Ukraine. In the 14th century, the icon was moved to Jasna for its protection. In the winter of 1655, the Polish nobles and monks of Jasna fought off a numerically superior force of Germans and Swedes, holding the belief that Mary and St. Paul had protected the besieged Poles against the Protestant forces. After the siege of Jasna, Polish forces throughout the country reacted, defeating Swedish, Cossack, and Russian armies who had invaded Poland the year before, in 1654. The following year, in 1656, Polish King Jan II Casimir decreed that Mary was the perpetual queen of Poland, linking her to Poland's national identity. And so it was in her honor that the fourth shrine was built. Leading the build of the fourth and final shrine was Father Regis Brzezinski. Initially, Father Regis wanted to move the Borowski shrine closer to the village, but when that option was deemed unavailable, the decision was made to erect a new shrine. On September 1st, 1986, Pulaski's Catholics met at Memorial Park, where Father Tony led them in a procession, as was done in the old days, to the Borowski shrine, where there were Bible readings, prayers, and a short homily. Prayers and songs were done in Polish, and on the return walk, the group of 130 or so congregants stopped at the site of the fourth shrine on Kubiak land, where they prayed for its blessing. In honor of Our Lady of Czestochowa, the shrine holds a copy of the venerated icon, along with a small box of soil from the sacred site of Jasna Gora. The shrine is also marked commemorating the founding of ABVM Parish and its centennial in 1987. It is beautifully upkept, and many folks have commented to me how serene and wonderful this shrine is. I would like to thank the Skala, the Kubiak, and the Shatansky families for all their efforts in maintaining and preserving the shrine. As I close my review of Pulaski's Marion shrines, I want to return to my original thought, that we all have only one lifetime's worth of memories. This isn't the case with the shrines, though. For over 120 years now, the shrines have stood as silent witnesses in stone to our community's activities. They have outlasted their makers and all that one lifetime of memories can hold. More importantly, the shrines link us in a common history, crossing generations, families, and households. Today, when anyone does the sign of the cross while passing a shrine, they perform the same reverence act performed by their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, all the way back to 1901. They are more than just expressions of religious devotion, but reminders of our community's heritage and those wonderfully given folks that came before us. In no other neighboring community will you find such intriguing and beautifully constructed objects dotting the landscapes as Pulaski's shrines. Unlike faded photos and illegible postcards, they are tangible conduits to a very real past accessible to all. They are one of the often overlooked signatures of Pulaski, and it is my hope that my discussion here with you raises awareness of their presence and importance to our community. That includes their preservation. Thank you for spending some time with me for this look back at Pulaski shrines and for your continued support of the Pulaski Area Historical Society.
All right.
So that video is on YouTube. So all you have to go is to the Pulaski Historical Society. Say that wrong all the time. And there's a YouTube button on there. You click on that and it'll take you right to the YouTube page. So you can watch that without seeing some of the people, and we had the Zoom people in here, so it'll be much clearer. So Damon, do you have anything to add? Can I give you the microphone? You can stay right there. I'll turn the camera.
Behind my back. Oh, I got a little sore hip yet. We were, the shrine at Pulaski's was quite a shrine, and we had done quite a bit of remodeling on it. There were people, Michael Hadiak, Van Lannens, they did the roof work, the copper roof on it. Mike Hadiak painted it, or tuck pointed it and fixed it, and shoes poured the cement because it was leaning like the Tower of Pisa. And so we had to straighten it out, and it stands straight now, and the footings below that shrine are about 5 feet down, so it's a solid block of cement there. So that should hold up real well. And we almost lost it, and thanks to St. Anthony, we had to fight the parish and John Graziani, who wanted to move that shrine to where the present Kubiak shrine is. And it's a good thing that it didn't happen, because the Kubiak put up a beautiful shrine there. And we felt that that one belonged to the town of Maple Grove, just like Almer's is in the town of Maple Grove too. We're very proud of that. So I hope that they'll all be taken care of, and that I'm very happy to know that Steve is on it, and he'll be spearheading up any renovation. It needs some work. I did too. I just had some renovation work. And they said I wasn't worth a darn. Well, I tell them, now look, I've got some titanium. That makes me pretty valuable. Well, thank you very much.
Damon, the question I have, is that land owned by the proprietor of the property or the diocese?
It's owned by the property owner.
Property owner.
Yeah,
When we have a problem,
I should have deeded it over, but there was a little problem that they wanted to study with it. But they are, I think they appreciate it also when they learn some of the history of these shrines. I'm sure they'll be very proud of them having that. I hope in time they might deed that over somehow to the Historical Society. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. We have a question here or comment.
Dennis Graff, I guess from the Literature Historical Society. How was this video paid for? Who paid for it?
Volunteer, pretty much.
It's Amy and Steve volunteering. Did you like it?
Video together?
Yeah. It took me all day yesterday. Good thing I own my own company, because I didn't do any work yesterday except that video. So, and Steve did a lot of research and compiled it and wrote it, and he spent many, many hours as well. So.
I didn't congratulate Steve on all the work that he did on a very fine video. I'm gonna check it out, and the second time I see it, I'll find out some more things about it. And I think it's a very well written story, and about all of our shrines here in Pulaski. I think we can be proud of them. There's one other country that also has shrines. It's in Macedonia, and one other country, that Croatia, that are very Catholic, and so they have shrines all over the countryside, like in Poland. But in Poland, you can't drive up 2 miles that you see a shrine of some sort. Some are very elaborate, some are very simple, but they're all very well taken care of and respected. Thank you.
I guess in closing, when working on this project, if you start looking up shrines in Wisconsin, Polish shrines, you'll find a lot in Stevens Point. And again, they had a very strong Polish Catholic community of immigrants around Stevens Point, but you don't have to travel to Stevens Point to see beautiful roadside shrines. We've got one in Savitsky, we've got a couple in the city of Pulaski. And again, beyond the religious aspect, they are artistic expression, giving shape and form. And the other wonderful thing, and I want people to really walk away from this with this thought, they're accessible. We often look at anything that is historic and collectible, and it's locked behind, a vault, or it's behind the velvet rope, or there's only certain times of days you can see it. You can go to any of these shrines, park your car, walk up to and just say your roadside prayer, by passing it. So you can appreciate them as they are under, the sky and the sun and under everything else, any condition. So I think that's a really wonderful thing about them, that they are accessible to everyone. And so,
We did trespass a little bit to do this. It was all in good faith, right?
yes.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, Rock Manigal here. I'm gonna report on a couple of different items of business. First of all, are the volunteers that we would normally bring into the museum to help us out have really come to an abrupt halt when the pandemic started. And at this point, we do not have any of these volunteers, both the adult ones that we had come in and our high school kids that we had come in. We just, we're halted at this point because of, our renovation. But I want to report on our outside work, and I'm going to have to read this because I'm the type of guy that I would start rambling on and everybody would want to go home before I got done. So I'm just going to read it. We had a problem with the grate in the back of our museum because the water from the Legion parking lot would run right into our museum. And obviously that's not a good thing. So we had to raise our grade, and we moved it up one cement block, which is like 8.5 inches. So we had to replace the door and put in some new block above it and a lintel to hold the door. And then we had the door was installed. It's a clear glass door. It's a beauty. It's probably one of the nicest things in our whole museum right now. And we had a kind of a sidewalk that put across the whole width of the museum, which is establishing our new grade. And one of our next projects, whenever we can afford it, would be to pour a new parking lot back there, and then train all the water that comes on it to go into the village storm sewer. But anyway, we've got that part of it completed, and our next. Oh, by the way, I'd like to put a shout out to the people that helped us do this and make it possible, and that would be, Mike and Billy Marashik. They helped with a number of things before, during, and after the project. And then we had a lot of help from Peters Concrete and from Brent Blazer, the concrete. He's the guy that engineered that whole thing and poured that sidewalk and a ramp into the building. This Friday, there will be a crew here that are going to install our siding. We've got steel siding and insulation that's going to be put all the way around the museum, and the front roof, the side of the front is where we've got all of our bricks put on there, and they're gonna start on Friday, so hopefully this all comes to fruition soon. And also thanks to Gary Van Lannen, who climbed up on our roof and inspected the rubber roof and made sure that everything was A-OK, and it is. And also thanks to Tim Procash and Paul List, as they volunteered to fix our ailing brick wall in the front of the museum, because it was detaching itself from the face of the building, and they got it glued back on there where it belongs. So at this point, we are going to finish our year out by having the whole building covered with steel and insulation. So it's going to look a lot different than it does now. And thankfully, it'll be insulated all the way around it, because it isn't at this point. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rod.
Oh, that's right.
All of those projects, we have the funding already and they're all taken care of. It's just a matter of doing. It took us like 2.5 years to find somebody to do some of the work. It seems like a back door is too small of a project for some of the contractors. So we had accumulated enough money. We have the doors being taken care of, all of the siding and insulation that's going to go on, that's all taken care of. The only thing that we have to look at is see how much we have in our funds to do our parking lot. And we might have a fund drive to accumulate that kind of money. I have no idea how much that would cost, but at some time we're going to have to reckon with that. Steve, are you up to giving us a report on archives?
Sure, I can give you some information.
Do you want that here?
I've put together a website, the purpose of which is to present printed material and photographs that are in the museum's collection. And it's available through a link on the Pulaski Historical Society's webpage, or you can go directly to it at archivepahs.org. And I started with a lot of the locally written books that we have in the museum collection. And there are several by Ray Brusky, Town of Maple Grove. There are some by a group of ladies from Angelica. And there are some that were well, genealogical books. I know one that my mom wrote. I posted that up there. And additionally, I've been scanning photographs. So I built the web server and I'm hosting it myself in my basement. So I'm sure you'll enjoy browsing through those documents. One of the documents that I'm most proud of is Father Constantine's Polish language thesis that he wrote for his master's degree in Polish studies that he received in 1954 from DePaul University. In browsing through some items at the museum, I discovered a bound copy of this thesis. It was a carbon copy. It was donated to the museum by Lester Blazer, and inside of it, there was a little note card from Father Constantine to Lester saying, "This is one of my copies, guard it with your life." So Lester donated it to the museum. Being all in Polish, it was a problem to understand, well, what actually does this contain? So Mike Brzezinski took it upon himself to feed the contents of the document to Google Translate. And we collaborated and produced an English language copy of Father Constantine's master's thesis. And it's the history of the St. Casimir Parish in Krakow. It's a fascinating read. So if you get a chance, go take a look at it. And additionally, some people have asked me for, I've offered to send people a PDF copy. And I think a couple people received those copies because sometimes reading it online is a little bit difficult. So that's our archive project. One of the things that was driving it at the beginning is the fact that the State Historical Society has the entire archive of the Pulaski News from the early 1940s until, I believe, until the 1990s on microfilm. I've been corresponding with them for about a year and a half, trying to get them to extract or to convert that microfilm archive to a digital format so that we could post it on the archive website. And so far, I haven't received any material. They do make a charge for that. At the time that we start getting that material, we're probably going to do a little fundraising drive. It'll cost us in the neighborhood of $3,000 to pay them to extract that material. And once we start getting that, we'll try posting it on the website. There's an awful lot of material. It's a huge archive, altogether about 1.5 terabytes. If you know what that is, that's 1,500 gigabytes. 15,000 gigabytes. It's a lot of material, and converting it will be a big project. So far, I haven't had any luck in getting it, so that's what we're hoping to do down the road. Does anybody have any questions about the archive or what they can do to help?
Any questions? Oh, we do have a couple questions.
Do you apply for any state or federal grants for something like this?
So far, we have not. All of the expenses have been minimal. I'm running it on a donated computer. I'm supplying the web hosting myself. There have been a few incidental expenses, maybe $100 or $200. And at this point, that's a little small to be looking for a grant to cover. So that's a possibility for once the State Historical Society starts doing the extracts. But my feeling was that it would not be a problem to run a GoFundMe campaign to raise $3,000 to purchase those extracts from the state.
Any other questions? I thought I seen another hand. No? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Steve with the curator's report.
Thank you for joining us for this year's annual meeting of the Pulaski Area Historical Society. In case you haven't gotten the chance to meet me, my name is Stephen Karch, and I am the lead researcher and curator of our little beloved museum here in Pulaski. Looking over my notes, I realized last night that I took over as curator in 2018 with the passing of our previous curator, Marion, who dedicated her talents and efforts to build this organization into what it is today. Keeping her legacy in mind, I hope to continue our organization's mission to educate the community on Pulaski's vibrant history while seeking new ways to spread that message. One of the ways we seek to raise awareness is through multiple outreach functions that happen throughout the year. One of the best in recent years has been our annual bus tour held in March during Casimir Pulaski Week. Normally, this is an actual bus tour guided by me, where we look at historic sites and I share stories of the area's colorful personalities from the past. But with COVID still gripping most of the country this last spring, Tammy and I opted to have a virtual bus tour, which we live streamed and later posted to YouTube. The entire event was a little over an hour long. We covered 5 segments of historic note to Pulaski: the White Store burglary with over 100 views, the Pulaski State Bank robbery with 139 views, the Tri-County Fair with 162 views, the train depot with 335 views, and the early saloons of Pulaski with an outstanding 563 views. I had such a wonderful time researching these topics and learning about the folks involved, including a career bank robber and an ex-boxer turned lawman. From a 3-legged chicken to an ear of corn that looked like a human hand, the videos made for an interesting detour into Pulaski's history. If you haven't seen the videos, I encourage you to do so, and I hope you enjoy viewing them as much as Tammy and I did making them. Last May, we were gifted with a grant from the Green Bay and De Pere Antiquarian Society for the restoration of a late 19th, early 20th century Polish-American fraternal uniform. In 2020, the uniform, dress coat and slacks, was donated to the museum along with its helmet, bandolier, and sword. The uniform itself shows a mixture of Polish and American elements, American eagles along with Polish eagles. Feeling the entire ensemble was worth preservation and display, I submitted a grant application along with my research notes to the Green Bay and De Pere Antiquarian Society. And so in May, we were fortunate to have been awarded the grant for its restoration. I am grateful to the Green Bay and De Pere Antiquarian Society for this honor. Since then, another uniform from the same group of men has been donated to the museum from the family of Joseph Borowski, and during the renovation, I located a photo of the fraternal members before the steps of the First Catholic Church in Pulaski. I intend to have the uniform cleaned and ready for display by summer of 2022. I would like to extend my thanks to our president, Larry Kuzin, for supporting my efforts on this project and his insights throughout this endeavor. In July, the museum opened its doors for Pulaski Polka Days to allow the community to join us once again in exploring Pulaski's past. These were the last days before the demolition began, and I was happy to see many familiar faces and several new ones. We had folks from several blocks away to those who crossed state lines, but all wanted to make a connection between themselves and our heritage in Pulaski. I was especially happy to see our volunteers once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much to them. We even had a visit from Polski Radio, 104.7, 107.1 Chicago, who came just to see what we Polish Americans were doing during Pulaski Polka Days. Again, I'm so grateful to all those who came to visit us and see what treasures we had to share with the community. In August, the Pulaski Area Historical Society was invited once again to participate in the Brown County Historical Society's annual road rally. This year's theme was Roads, Rivers, Rails, and Trails. Because renovations were underway at the museum, Mountain Bay Bar and Grill kindly provided the PAHS a space to hold the event. We were just one stop on the rally's route. For those who don't know about the event, it's like a scavenger hunt where teams visit local historical organizations in Brown County, earning points by answering questions and playing games. Our focus this year was the founding of the village, highways 32 and 160, the train depot, and the roadside shrines. For games, we had participants give a couple friendly throws at cornhole and a dance to the polka. I was elated at one point to see 5 couples at once dancing the polka in the little pool hall in the back of Mountain Bay. All in all, we had around 40 or so participants visit Pulaski that afternoon for our leg of the rally. I want to thank our members of the board who joined me that afternoon to help, along with Kelly O'Connor from the Brown County Historical Society and the owners of the Mountain Bay Bar and Grill for providing us with a welcoming venue. The last several months have seen big changes at the museum, as entire walls have come down and much of the collection upstairs has been organized and given temporary homes. During this time, we have found some pretty amazing discoveries, including a photo album from the early 1920s, a 1910 signature book from the Pulaski State Bank, and a postcard of a globe-trotting Polish soldier who crossed the planet twice, stopping once to speak in Menasha. We found many wonderful photos, ledgers, dance posters, tools, household goods, articles of clothing, even a Nazi policeman's cap from 1938. These are just the things upstairs, and there is still a lot more work to do as we try to identify photos and personal effects that have been kindly donated to our care. All in all, the collection is robust and in decent shape. And through it all, there have been little requests that I get from time to time. Like last March, when a little boy stopped by the museum with his vintage Pulaski State Bank Liberty Bell bank. The boy's father saw that we had the exact same bank, but that we had a key, which they did not. As the boy opened the lock, 2 old wheat coins, pennies, fell out. One was dated 1911, the other 1915. The boy was excited, and I was just happy we could help out with our spare key. Or last summer when I met with Deb Morrison, who came to Pulaski to revisit her childhood with the other members of the Morrison family. And I, once again, got to join in another stroll through a cemetery, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Going forward into 2022, most of my attention is going to be placed towards the renovations of the museum and creating new displays that are engaging, enlightening, and sometimes even interactive. I want to tell the story of Pulaski's early craftsmen, its businesses, and the surrounding communities. I also want to put more of my energy towards the genealogical side of our museum, a focus towards families and individuals that have called this area home. As I mentioned in my piece on Pulaski's Shrine, I would also like to engage our organization alongside the community towards renovations and maintenance of our historic shrines. I believe small investments in personal time and effort could foster a greater sense of connection to our shared past and its importance to our community, all at the same time bringing more people into our story. As I close the curator's report for 2021, I want to extend my thanks to those who have offered donations and assistance to our museum. We are so blessed to have loyal and dedicated group of core volunteers who have given their time and help to our mission. I would also like to thank the board in their efforts in this time of restoration and transition. You have given of yourselves to help in the renovations, and your labors only speak to your commitment to this organization. Speaking personally, I am honored to be a part of this diverse yet enthusiastic group, and your passions for our mission is what sustains and motivates us. Thank you and good night.
Chris?
Yes.
I'd like you to give a little summary on why we got involved with an endowment fund, and then we'll go to the presentation, the preservation award.
Sure. Yeah, in November of 2020, our museum established an endowment. And what this allows people to do is donate money, and the principal always stays in the account. And we set it up so that the endowment needs to reach a goal of $100,000. And then at that point, it can start paying out interest or dividends. And our hope is that this endowment, the income that it'll generate, will be able to be used really for anything, but most likely utility bills, maintenance on our museum building. And the whole idea is that it would free up donations for more important things like preservation of artifacts and so on and so forth. So again, like I said earlier, our endowment was started in November of 2020, and we have raised so far $13,250. And this money is not invested in a savings account or anything like that. It's actually invested in the market. So it has a greater opportunity to grow over the long haul. And the investment that we chose is a Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. And I'm glad to report that it is actually appreciated a little bit. I think our endowment is worth like $13,600, so it grew a little bit. But I think it's also very impressive that we raised $13,250 in less than a year. So if we keep up at that pace, you know, in 4 or 5 years, hopefully we'll have it up to 100,000. And again, then the endowment can start helping our museum. Any questions?
Okay, no, there's no questions here, Chris. Would you like to talk a little bit about the preservation award, or would you like me to share the video first?
No, I can talk about it first. The Historic Preservation Award, I guess, was started back in 2008 just to recognize people that have restored older buildings in the greater Pulaski area. Some of you may know about our museum's history and how we got started in the 1970s. A big impetus was when the Pulaski train station was torn down. A lot of people were so upset about that. They thought, boy, Pulaski has to do better with its history. And that was really the origins of the Pulaski Area Historical Society. So in 2008, we decided to start this award just to recognize people again that are preserving history, preserving buildings, much like Steve talked about the shrines, important to Pulaski's history. We just feel that just normal buildings, everyday buildings, somebody that's restoring something that's really old needs to be recognized. And that's what this award's all about. This is actually the 14th year that we have done this. And if you go through the list of the buildings that we've recognized in the past, I think it's kind of neat. And I think a lot of people might recognize some of these buildings. I'm just going to go through them right now real quickly. Our first recipient in 2008 was Emil and Marion Shapansky. They restored their barn, which is located on South Chase Road in the town of Chase. In 2009, we recognized Amy Switchikowski, who did just a magnificent job of restoring the Huffa Park Tavern. In 2010, we recognized Lori Steffen, who restored a building that houses her realty company, Country Pride Realty. That building was originally the Blue Moon Tavern. In 2011, we recognized the Century Farm building in Laney that's owned by Dale and Pam Johnson. It's a glazed tile building. 2012, we recognized Larry Puzin's house in Pulaski. In 2013, we recognized the Chase Stone Barn, which is now a park site. In 2014, we recognized the Russell Barn, which is a barn near Krakow off of Highway 32, owned by a gentleman named Rob Russell. In 2015, we recognized Jane and Fred Novak, who restored their barn in the town of Chase. This barn, the most famous owner was Louis Ranke. So if some of you people remember him, that was his barn. 2016, we recognized the Van Asten Plumbing for their building in downtown Pulaski. 2017, we recognized my own barn, which was built by my uncle, Andrew Jaworski. 2018, we recognized Jack and Gloria Betley for the restoration they did on their farmhouse in Huffa Park. 2019, we recognized the Ensight building, which is one of the oldest occupied homes in the village of Pulaski. In 2020, we recognized Tracy Johnson and Dean Race for a home they restored just on the outskirts of Pulaski on the east side. And this year, we're going to recognize Kevin Surprise. He has restored a home which is located in North Chase. The address is 1283 North Chase. I did some research on this house. I talked to our town chairman, our old town chairman, Bob Shaden, and a neighbor, Jeannie Robleski, and they told me that the house was built somewhere in the late 30s by John and Carrie Kuske, Kuske. This couple actually ran the North Chase Tavern for a spell, which is just kitty corner across from the house. There also used to be a barn and a granary on the property, but those have been torn down many years ago. After the Kuskes, the home was sold to Chuck and Connie Hansen. And in 2006, Kevin Surprise, the current owner, purchased the house. It's a 2-bedroom home, about 1,000 square feet. It's rumored that it may be a Sears home or patterned after the Sears homes that were so popular in the 1930s. Over the last 15 years, the home has gotten a new roof, new windows, new siding. But this past summer, Kevin did a wonderful job of restoring the foundation. Apparently, the house had a half-dirt basement, and he brought in a construction company called Deerfield, which totally excavated the underneath of the house, put in a new basement, and enclosed the porch, so there was a staircase leading to the basement. And so, yeah, this year we are recognizing Kevin Surprise for his home restoration, and want to thank him for preserving another old building in the Pulaski area. And if Kevin wants to come up and get his award and maybe say a few other words, that'd be great.
So Chris, I've got Heather, Heather's on there too.
Okay.
Heather's here tonight too. So can I show the video quick before we
Please,
bring them up? Okay. All right. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to share the screen. And let's see here. It's just a short video, so we'll let it play. This is also on YouTube. So I'm going to share some links in the chat because some of the people couldn't hear some of the video. There's no video, or there's no sound with this, but these are all the pictures that they gave us. So we put it together in a little slideshow. So it is on YouTube as well. And that brings us to our award. And Larry, I'm going to present this. Larry, you have to come up here.
You just have to come up here.
Everybody has to come up here, yep.
For 2021, I'd like to present to Heather Kelter and Kevin Surprise the Preservation Award.
Thank you.
Any questions about the house or anything while we have them up here? No questions? Yeah, go ahead.
When was it built again?
It was, I think, 1939, 1938, they were saying, the way the construction is.
Does it have an attic?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a full attic.
What prompted the question about it could be a Sears? Did you see something in the building itself, or
That's what I was
somebody told you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a house that's up by near Crivets.
Okay.
That's quite debilitated now, but it's almost an exact replica.
Oh, okay.
of our
So
house.
it's possible Sears did sell a kit.
Yep.
So did they have is it a stone wall basement or is it a block
It
basement?
was actually poured. I put block on the other half. It was poured on the existing half.
Oh, the original 30 built at the beginning?
Yeah, it was poured. It was poured in a Spike Construction. He said the way it was poured had to be around the 40s, 1940, around there, because the way they had the nails in there and they have rocks, and when they cut the wall, you can see the stones and the cement. And
And then there's just a big crawl space to the dirt that goes, so like literally half of the house had basement and the other half had dirt. So we had them come in and they jacked the house up and dug it all out and put a new block basement in with a new staircase. The current original staircase for the basement is quite small.
It probably was on the outside, wasn't an interior.
it was
It's
an
inside.
interior, but it's only 2 feet.
Oh, well, just a cubby hole, that's all.
Yeah.
You find anything interesting when you tore it apart at all?
Well, we found like a little Tonka truck that in the dirt,
Okay.
when they dug it out. We found that.
1979.
Yeah. All the original wallpaper is still in the kitchen.
We showed that on the video.
We're in the process of remodeling the interior of the home, just to kind of update it a little bit and to make it more livable. The way the house was designed just doesn't give us a whole lot of room. So with the renovation, we are leaving some of the, Kevin loves the wallpaper. So we are leaving one wall in the house, in the kitchen. We're not changing so much of the structure on the inside of the house. The main beam, the main wall that runs the length of the house wasn't put on the main beam under the home. So that main wall is being moved over just for structure for the future.
That's a bearing.
Bearing wall.
Yeah, so they're about
See
2
the
feet
bearing
apart.
walls 2 feet off the main beam underneath the house.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of paneling in the house that'll come out, new drywall and.
Is there insulation on the exterior walls?
Yeah.
They had insulation in there. Huh?
Yeah, it has the old
1940, yeah,
slats. The old slat walls are in with the old time plaster.
Wood last.
Yep. Yeah. So
Is the house a home to any children?
no, our children are grown. So grandchildren. Hopefully, we've got one 5-year-old granddaughter. So hopefully, the future will bring us more. But right now, it's just us and the dogs. So
Square footage is once again? Square footage?
roughly 1,000. Yeah, it is pretty small. With the renovation, we had to do some moving around. So our master bedroom just barely fits our king. So, but it's home and it's livable. Kevin built the new porch on the front that you can see in the new pictures. It's gray. I own a painting business, so I painted the porch to match the new shed. So Kevin had a shed put on this spring. Yeah, so we had room for, he does a lot of gardening and his parents own the farm, the fields next to us. So Kevin helps with that. So we needed room for tractors and stuff. So we put the shutters on this spring, this summer. We had those were made by, I think Sarah Heinke. They live in Abrams. They have a, what's it called? A sawmill. So they custom made the shutters because the windows are new. However, they're oddball sizes. So we had to have the shutters custom made to fit. So I painted those and he put them up. And
What's behind those 3 windows up on the second story?
the attic.
The attic,
That's the attic?
where the dormers come out,
Yep.
that's the attic. And
Okay,
you can walk down the attic, it's small.
that's where the kids used to sleep.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll bring something to you. Did you know that we are one of the few businesses in town that have green space in front of our building? Of all the concrete in Pulaski, the museum has its own green space. So we're right along with the environment. Now I'd like to have Maria come up, or you're at home, Maria. Tell us about the project that's going on the inside, which was started by a donation from MCL. Am I correct on that, Maria?
It is from a donation from Larry Trinkler at the Village Companies, who also owns Baytech and MCL. Let me show you myself, I suppose. So currently, like Steve Karch said, we have taken down walls at the museum, which is pretty exciting. It looks completely different in there. It has opened the space up a lot. But this whole project started because of Larry Trinkler's donation. He donated $10,000 to the museum, and with that, we are planning to replace the carpet. Like I said, take down the walls, get some new display cases. Now we will be also replacing ceiling tiles and painting everything and making like a new reception area. So we started out just going through the attic. We had a lot of things that we didn't necessarily need for the museum. They were, it was more like excess items, props. And so we went through and organized a lot of things that we didn't need, things that we thought were relevant to the Pulaski history. Some items were just really cool, like the Nazi officer helmet. When we found that, I think we had 5 people at the museum that day, and we all kind of congregated around this helmet looking at it. It was so neat. It's so cool, the things that we found in the attic upstairs, things that we didn't even realize we had or forgot that we had. Yeah, it's just a really exciting process to do. So we've been there every Tuesday since I believe we started last March, going through the museum. So it's been a while that we've been working on this project, and we'll be working on it a lot longer. There's still a lot left to go, but we've made a lot of progress. And with this whole renovation, the hope is that we will eventually be able to switch out our displays and give people a reason to come back to the museum. Something new to see, something different, something they can learn about the history of Pulaski that they maybe didn't necessarily know about before. So we're really hoping to just bring some freshness to the museum and really get our community more involved in our history, since we really care. That's obviously something we really care about. So, and then with this open space, with the walls being taken out, we're planning to make movable walls, so we can customize the space to whatever our displays are going to be. So if we want to make a little display room, we can do that with movable walls and move them wherever we want them to go. So that progress is always updated in all of our minutes for all our meetings that we have. So, and Tammy, I know, is much better than I am at taking photos and videos when she comes to the museum to document our process. So I usually have my gloves on because things can get pretty hairy sometimes. So when we had to carry the insulation out, I was really thankful I had those gloves. So yeah, it's been amazing to see the board participate and come in and help. Like, I am so grateful to the board. It's such a great group of people. I'm so thankful to have so much like support and help in this project. So it's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see. So I feel like I feel a lot closer to the board going through this project for sure. I've seen so many of their faces, and we've had so many laughs, and it's been a really great time. So any questions about the renovation?
Any questions? So Maria, I do have a little video walkthrough that I'm
Okay.
gonna share.
Sounds
Larry, you can talk a little bit about it while I get it ready.
The door and opening up stuff. Let's see here.
There were 3 rooms actually in the museum. One is an office, one was what we call the military room, and then also the religious room. Well, the military and the religious room is no longer there. The only core that we have is the office and the boiler room. So it's really wide open. And talking about insulation, whoever was renting that building before us, the walls were insulated for sound. So there's a lot of insulation right in the walls. And if you know anything about insulation, once it's 4 or 5 years old, it's pretty brittle and it gets on your skin and it irritates you. Now, the ceiling has 8 inches of blanket insulation above it. Evidently, when they had the building originally, they didn't want to heat the upstairs, so they insulated the first floor ceiling. Well, when we put in a new furnace, our object was to be able to temper the upstairs also. So when we put in the new furnace, we also set it up for air conditioning. Well, with the insulation on the ceiling of the first floor, it kind of causes us problems with trying to balance the temperatures. So the insulation really has to come out of there. Are you all set?
It's going, can you see it?
Yeah. This portion is still there. This shows you the door out the back. Out the back. And that arch will stay open and you can see there's a ramp coming into the building. What'll be presented, this is my little project. I'm going to leave a portion of the stairway to show that that was part of the stairway when the upstairs was used to embalm people, because that was a funeral home at one time. Now, this will all be moved out. This is the wall that is opening. Eventually, this will all be open. Here's where the religious room was and the military. That's now all open. Oh, we lost it. We're on Tri-County there.
That's okay. We just, that was it.
For me, Dropbox is a seamless way of ensuring that
You're welcome to anytime come in on a Tuesday. They're usually there at 6:30 and take a look around. Or if you see lights on, you're sure welcome to come in and give us a little idea of what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right. So.
But any questions on that? I know some of the people that worked on it are here. So do you have any thoughts or comments?
One of the reasons why we decided to start keeping the walls is if you were ever in our museum before, you'd walk in and you would have to almost make like this little J kind of track in and you'd come by the kitchen and then you have to turn around and go all the way around again. This way, we're going to have more of a natural flow. So you go around the whole museum. And again, the idea is to bring people back because we're going to be able to change over the displays a lot more frequently. And we have lots of stories of the articles that have been downstairs, but there's a lot of things upstairs we've discovered that have stories just as well, just as important. And we want to keep those things on display too. So.
As Maria was saying, every Tuesday we, well, her and Steve actually spend a lot of time there. And once in a while, if we get a chance, we help them out. Well, anyway, about 2 weeks ago, Maria is, can you imagine trying to wrestle with a mannequin? She,
Oh my gosh, Ron.
Maybe another one, I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, we have a booth. So we finally figured out the arms came off. So then she took the tire or dress or whatever, took it off, and then she wanted to pack it away. But anyway, that was a hoot. You should have been there. Sorry, Maria.
Thankfully, Ron was there to help me because I don't know what I would have done. I had it with this mannequin. I didn't know what to do next, and I was like, I'm done. And Ron figured it out. So thank goodness for Ron.
Are there any other questions or any comments? This will conclude our annual meeting. I need a motion to adjourn.
Larry.
Yeah.
Before you go, how many more years do I have to be to get into somebody sponsoring me as a
historical object.
How old are you now?
91.
Oh, I think you gotta be at least 100, don't we? Didn't we just have that in our bylaws? We'll be reviewing our bylaws, right? And we'll-
Close.
Yeah, you're close.
You're close.
Get closer. One day, closer every day.
You probably won't know when you're gonna be a historical person. Yeah. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Damien, seconded by
I second it.
seconded by Pam, all in favor?
Aye.